Hello everyone. In this video, we are going to discuss one of the most important theorem in number theory, the fundamental theorem of arithmetic. The fundamental theorem of arithmetic. Before stating this theorem and proving this theorem, we shall discuss some lemmas that will be used to prove this theorem. First, we shall prove a lemma by Euclid, also known as Euclid's lemma. If P is a prime number, and AB are any two integers, and if P divides AB, then P divides A or P divides B. An integer P greater than 1 is said to be a prime number if the only divisors of P are 1 and P itself. How do you prove this lemma? Given that P divides AB, so this implies that AB can be written as P into some integer k. Now we shall consider two cases. A is an integer, P is a prime number. Either P should divide A or P does not divide A. Suppose if P divides A, then there is nothing to prove. Here we need to show that if P divides AB, then either P divides A or P divides B. If P divides A, then there is nothing to prove. In the case 2, if P does not divide A, then P should divide B. How do you show that? If P does not divide A, then the GCD of A comma P is 1. Why? The divisors of P are 1 and P. There are only two divisors as P is a prime number. The divisors of A are 1, etc. A. There can be at most two common divisors, 1 and P. As P does not divide A, we don't have P here. P is not a divisor of A. So only common divisor of P and A here is 1. So the greatest common divisor is also equal to 1. Now by Bezout's identity, there exists integers x and y such that ax plus py is equal to 1. Now multiply both sides by b. What we get? abx plus pby is equal to b. But ab is equal to p into k. Substitute x plus pby is b. Take p as common. P into kx plus by is equal to b. We have shown b as an integral multiple of p. Therefore, P divides B. So this proves the lemma. We can generalize this lemma. Here we have only two integers. This is true for any number of integers. That is, if P divides A1, A2, etc. An, then P should divide one of the integers. P should divide ak for some k between 1 and n. How to prove this? We can utilize induction to prove this corollary. For n equal to 2, the result holds good by this case. Suppose the result is true for n minus 1 integers, that is, if P divides a product of n minus 1 integers, then there exists an integer ak such that p divides ak for some k between 1 and n minus 1. Now we shall consider if p divides a product of n integers, if p divides a1, a2, n minus 1, an. This can be seen as a product of two integers. You combine these n minus 1 integers and take it as one integer and an as other integer. By this case, if p divides a product of two integers, then p should divide one of the integer, and this implies p divides a1, a2, n minus 1, or p divides a. By the assumption, if p divides a product of n minus 1 integers, then p should divide ak for some k between 1 and n minus 1. Now you combine this statement and this statement, we get the corollary. Corollary 2, if p divides a product of n prime numbers, then p should be equal to qk for some k between 1 and n, where p is a prime number and qy's are prime numbers. This follows from corollary 1. If p divides a product of n integers, then p should divide one of the integer for some k between 1 and n. Since qk is a prime number, the only divisors of qk are 1 or qk. So p should be equal to 1 or p should be equal to qk. P cannot be equal to 1, as p itself is a prime number, p cannot be equal to 1, and therefore we should have p equal to qk. So this completes the proof of corollary. Now we shall prove the fundamental theorem of arithmetic. Any integer n greater than 1 can be expressed as a product of powers of prime numbers which is unique up to rearrangement of terms. How to prove this? If n itself is a prime number, then there is nothing to prove. If n is a prime number, then there is nothing to prove. Otherwise n is a composite number. N is said to be a composite number if it is not a prime number, or n can be written as d1 into d2, where d1, d2 strictly less than n and strictly greater than 1. So it is called as non-trivial factorization. If n is a composite number, then it has a non-trivial factorization. The factors are strictly less than n, strictly greater than 1. First we show that any composite number has a prime factor. First we show that n greater than 1 composite number has a prime factor. How to prove this? Since n is a composite number, it has number of divisors. Among all such divisors, choose the least divisor greater than 1. Let d greater than 1 be the least possible divisor of n. Then I claim that this d should be a prime number. How to prove this? If d is not a prime number, then d can be written as d1 into d2, where d1, d2 strictly less than d and strictly greater than 1. Here d1 is a factor of d. d1 divides d, and we know that d is a factor of n, so d divides n. By transitive law of divisibility, d1 divides n. This implies d1 divides n, which is a contradiction. Here d1 is less than d and a factor of n, which is a contradiction to the choice of d. Here we have chosen d as the least possible divisor of n, which is greater than 1. Here we are getting d1 greater than 1 but less than d dividing n is a contradiction. So d should be a prime number. So d is a. So we have shown if n is a composite number, then it has a prime factor. Now n is a composite number, so we can find a prime number which divides n. So n can be written as p1 into n1, where p1 is a prime number. Now if n1 is a prime number, then stop. If n1 is a prime number, then stop. Otherwise n1 has a prime factor, otherwise there exists p2 such that p2 dividing n1, that is n1 can be written as p2 into n2, where p2 is a prime number. Substituting n1 here, we get n is equal to p1, p2, n2. Continuing this way, we get n is equal to p1, p2, p3 into n3, where p1, p2, p3 are all prime numbers. Continuing this way, this process should definitely stop at some stage, because if you observe here, n is strictly greater than n1, n1 is strictly less than n, and n1 is strictly greater than n2, n3 strictly less than n2, etc. So here we have a strictly decreasing sequence of positive integers, so it should end at some stage. After some k steps, we should have n is equal to p1, p2, pk minus 1 into nk minus 1, where p1, p2, pk minus 1 are all prime numbers, and nk minus 1 is also a prime number. If you put nk minus 1 equal to pk, we get n is equal to p1, p2, pk minus 1 into pk. So we have expressed n as a product of prime numbers. If we combine the like terms, we get n as a product of powers of prime numbers. Say for example, 20 can be written as 2 into 10. 2 is a prime factor of 20. Now 2 is a prime factor of 10, so we can write 2 into 5. 5 is a prime number, so we stop here. If we combine the like terms, we can write it as 2 square into 5. So this is the factorization of 20. Now we shall prove the uniqueness part. Suppose we can express n as P1, P2, Pr and Q1, Q2, Qs, where Pi's are prime numbers, Qis are also prime numbers. Pi's and Qis are prime numbers. Without loss of generality, we can assume that the factorization is in the ascending order. Without loss of generality, assume that P1 is strictly less than or equal to P2, less than or equal to etc. less than or equal to PR, and Q1 less than or equal to Q2 less than or equal to etc. Qs. Now P1 divides this product P1, P2, PR. This is equal to Q1, Q2, Qs by the corollary 2 of lemma. P1 divides the product of S prime numbers, so P1 should be equal to Qk for some k between 1 and S. Qk will be somewhere here in between Qk, which is equal to P1. So we have Q1 is less than or equal to P1. This implies Q1 less than or equal to P1. Similarly, by considering Q1 dividing Q1, Q2, Qs, which is same as P1, P2, PR, we can show that P1 is less than or equal to Q1. Here we have Q1 less than or equal to P1. Here we have P1 less than or equal to Q1. Hence, P1 is equal to Q1. So cancelling P1, Q1 on both sides, we get P2, P3, PR is equal to Q2, Q3, Qs. Continuing this way, we get P2 equal to Q2, P3 equal to Q3 and etc. And now we have to show that R is equal to S. Suppose if R not equal to S, then without loss of generality, we assume that R less than S. R is less than S. Continuing this way, we can show that P1 equal to Q1, P2 equal to Q2, etc. PR equal to QR. Cancelling all the like terms on either side, we get 1 is equal to QR plus 1, QR plus 2, etc. Qs, which is a contradiction. All Qis are prime numbers. Here we are getting that a product of prime number is equal to 1 is a contradiction. Hence, we should have R equal to S. So this proves the uniqueness part.